Hello, and welcome to a first in ATX TV virtual events, our inaugural Fireside Chat. I'm Emily Gibson, and this is Caitlin McFarland, and we're the co-founders of ATX TV and can't wait to present our first conversation in partnership with Shudder.
Okay, so I'm sure they already know this, but we should tell the people that this is a chat with Greg Nicotero, legend of special effects in horror and beyond, but I do have a question.
Okay.
Is there an actual fire in this fireside chat?
Well, no, but I do have a pillow.
Well, that counts.
I mean, I think so, especially since it was 80 degrees here in Texas today. So this is probably the only fire that we want / need.
That's probably true. I am a little bummed because I think we all pictured Greg like masterpiece theater style, smoking jacket, comfy chair, roaring fire.
Yeah, I agree. Next time?
Okay, sure. We will up our game and it will be better next time. You guys have our promise for that. Oh. Yeah. But the good news is he has some other very cool things in the frame, so be sure to look around. But seriously, this is very cool for us. Our director of programming, Jennifer Morgan, has broken a threshold on a deep dive into all things horror this year. So I think there's a lot more coming your way, and partnering with Shudder just means it's going to be even more amazing. But it's also the first time that we've had Greg Nicotero, and as I said, he's a legend. He is also a gem of a human being. And he is in conversation with writer, director, actor Gigi Saul Guerrero. If you don't know, you're about to find out. She's a total badass.
She's so super cool.
She's very, very cool.
All the things. Well, let's do this. First up is the chat with Greg and Gigi. Then stay tuned because they are followed by a first look at CREEPSHOW episode 201, Model Kid, premiering on Shudder on April 1st.
Yay. Enjoy.
Thank you for coming. I already know that your services are in great demand. You come very highly recommended.
Today's guest has brought us something quite special.
People like horror. People like being scared.
You have to try it.
What the hell is that?
Let's look inside.
It's just scared.
You should be.
All hail the king.
Amigo, I see you. I see you. Looking good as always.
I feel like we do this. I see you more on the computer than I do in person, which is kind of a bummer. But
I know. It was a tease when we met up at Comic-Con. It was too short. It was too short of a hangout.
I know, but you know what? That was, now we have a beautiful friendship, as they so say.
Agreed. Agreed. Both lovers of horror and all things gory and wacky.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a friendship made in hell, I think. I love it.
Listen, I have, and by the way, we both have lots of them. You know, you look at Eli and you look at all the people that we love. There's always that joke that we have. We're all sort of separated at birth with this one scar that David Cronenberg, whose birthday is today, actually his birthday is March 15th, is in the same spot. I think all of us have the same David Cronenberg Dead Ringers scar of being joined when we were born.
Yeah, there's something that connected us all in some way, shape, or form, something that brought us together. Yeah. It's so great to see you, my friend. I'm so happy. You look good. You don't look like you're spending quarantine by yourself. I can see you got friends in the back.
Oh, well, you know, that's the beauty of being in production during quarantine. You know, I'll say I was really, really proud. You know, CREEPSHOW, we were one of the first long form shows to get back into production. We started in August, and we had initially planned on shooting 6 episodes. We were shooting season 2, and once we got into it, you know, everybody was being safe, everyone was being responsible, and the network was really, really excited with what we were turning out, that they said, hey, why don't you guys just keep going and shoot season 3 at the same time?
Oh, that's awesome.
So we ended up shooting 2 seasons of the show and wrapped early February. So right when other people were just starting to kind of figure it out, we had been doing it for 6 months already. And you
Wow.
know, the team was so hungry. You know, I mean, in this, in this new world, I wasn't sure what it was going to be like. I didn't know how it was going to be collaborating with actors and talking to your DP.
Well, especially being the first ones back, right? Like,
yeah, we didn't know. Like we were wearing masks and face shields, and the actors were, so far away, and I was a little concerned out of the gate that I didn't know if that collaborative spirit was going to be there when you felt all of those kind of layers in between you and the talent and everyone. But I'll tell you, the first day on set, it's in your blood, you just,
yeah,
you can't not, you can't not want to scare people. You can't not want to make some great shows that are funny and emotional and scary and touching all at the same time. So as soon as we got into it again, I just felt like every single person on the crew and all the cast, they just really sort of banded together and were like, look, we're in this together, and we're gonna show the world that we still have a lot more stories to tell, and they're not going to be told sitting in your living room. They're going to be told out in the world. We wanted to really open the world again, and it felt really good, better than I was kind of a little nervous about, like, oh, how's this going to be? But it was great.
Well, I guess the people that would come back are the ones that want to work, right? They're the ones that want to commit to the project regardless of whatever's happening. And I think that's the beauty of film, is that we're kind of a family and we trust each other. So,
Well, definitely. Look, I mean, when people are in a situation where they are forced to stop going, like I know, like you and I, we go 100 miles an hour.
yes.
So when somebody says stop, there's that sort of slamming the brakes on was really a different experience for me. I mean, and fortunately, I didn't really stop working because, we did the animated special and we were developing episodes for season 3. So we were able to keep going, but it's that spirit of the people around you, the people that make you better, that allow your work to be elevated. And that spirit is really what I keyed in on. And, the first couple episodes of CREEPSHOW, I had Adam Pally and Anna Camp and Keith David and Josh McDermott. And I had a lot of great actors around me, and a lot of them I was friends with, and a lot of them I hadn't worked with before, but they were just like, we're ready to get back to work. And I feel like they came to work with a renewed sense of like, look, I don't know how many more projects are going to happen until the world sort of rights itself. So if you're offering us something, we're going to jump in and we're going to go in feet first. And
That's
you
amazing.
you can see it in the episodes that people were in it and committed to it.
Well, you guys are also bringing I can tell you as a horror fan, CREEPSHOW just brings such an amazing throwback to classic, 80s horror, that vibe where you can laugh, cry, scream, squirm, like it gives you all the emotions in one. And I think as an actor, all these wonderful people you just made, like, it's so much fun for them, I'm sure, to create these stories with you guys, right?
Well, and I'll tell you, for me, I feel like season 1, I kind of joke about the fact that season 1 was like me grabbing a bucking bronco and just holding on for dear life. I was in a bullfight and I was just holding onto the horns and praying that I wasn't going to be thrown 200 feet.
Hold on tight.
and when it was done, the pressure of like George's legacy and Steve King, and I felt that responsibility in my shoulders. So all I wanted was for people to see that there was heart and passion in the show. And when they did, I felt like, okay, I can breathe now. And then with season 2, I really feel like season 2 is a completely different animal. You know,
Incredible.
I was able to really lean into the different styles, you know, like Shapeshifters Anonymous, which is this completely outrageous comedy of terrors, so to speak. But each story has a different theme to it. And I really feel like this season of Creepshow, I was able to tame the bull and tell stories that not only were personal to me, but I feel resonate with the crowd and expanding the crowd with what we do. So there's tributes to Aurora Monster Models. There's a tribute to Sam Raimi. There's a tribute to Night of the Living Dead. There's episodes that are just that they're number one, they're all over the place, but in a way that allows you to experience everything you love about the genre in a 20-minute time period. And I'm really, you know, I went back and watched episode 1 and episode 2, and I was like, damn, when did we make those? Like, first of all, it felt like it had been 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But then I was really proud of them. And I can't wait for people to see them because they're just, they're special. And I feel like it just really, really made my heart swell to see that I was able to get across what I love about the genre and about the show. And it was a really unique sensation that I wasn't expecting. I don't know why, but
well, you definitely held it carefully with your hands and just put so much love and passion into it. I think you did justice, my friend. And look, we're getting more. This is the best news. I'm so excited. And you know what I really enjoy is that every episode is unpredictable. Like, I don't know what I'm sitting in for in every episode. And that's really cool that you keep us surprised. And, you know, I think that's exactly what, you know, the masters did with the original Creepshow. We didn't really know what we were sitting in for. And it was different tales, different surprises. So that's really cool, especially for filmmakers being part of your series to try out new things. That's really incredible.
Well, the trick is, you know, there's not a lot of time to play. You know, we're still, you know, challenged with our time frame and our budgets. But, you know, the interesting aspect of it was we were ready to shoot season 2 when we shut down. So we had all of our scripts done and ready to go. But it did give me time to go back in and refine some of the stories, and also kind of, you know, work with writers that I really wanted to. You know, Heather Ann Campbell had written an episode of the Twilight Zone, the new Twilight Zone, that I absolutely loved. So when we were in quarantine, I reached out to her and asked her to write an episode of Creepshow for me. You know, so I feel really fortunate, you know, that I've been able to find a lot of great writers. You know, Eric Sandoval and Michael Rousselet wrote 2 stories for me. Melanie Dale, who ironically I met Mel because she's one of the Walker performers on Walking Dead. And when Creepshow got greenlit, she said, "Hey, I want to pitch you a story." And she pitched me a story, and it was great. And that's in season 2 of Creepshow. So it's really exciting for me to be able to work with new writers. Some of the material we have was presented from pitches. Some of it was pre-existing short stories. And some of it were like, there were a couple ideas that I had that I went to a few writers and said, "Hey, I had this crazy idea, and what do you think?" So it really has been a great experience developing these stories and sort of fine tuning and and revising them. You know, Daniel Kraus, who kind of finished George Romero's last book, he wrote a script for us. Paul Dini and Stephen Langford wrote a script for us. I wrote a couple scripts. John Esposito, Melanie Dale, Maddie Douche, she wrote a really great story called Drug Traffic for season 3. So it's just been,
that's a great
I kind of feel like the criteria for me is, if I read a script, if I don't want to direct it, then it's probably not good enough. So I want to direct every script. So when I assign the directors, I'm kind of like,
love that. I love the way
know,
you think there.
but
Yeah.
it's sort of like that joke where you hand it over and then when they grab it, you're like, you gotta let it go. And it's been a great experience. And I was in the editing room today for season 3 and looking at cuts, and I'm still blown away by what we were able to do with our budget. It never ceases to amaze me.
That's amazing. Well, you know what? Sometimes with the pressure of short time, little dinero, little money, sometimes is where we create some of the coolest stuff, because it forces us to be creative. I think I've made by now, I think like 16 or 17 short films. No money, no time, but it really is possible. And I think what you guys are doing, I mean, you're calling it low budget, but for indie filmmakers, like it's possible. And I think you guys are picking such smart filmmakers that are helping this process happen. And with people like you backing them up, it's an easy thing, I think.
Well, look, I mean, I know how much I kept trying to find time, to squeeze you away from what you were doing to have you come and direct. I even had a part for you in mind, but you're a busy woman, thank God.
Well, you got to do season 4. We got to make it happen.
I know we will. But listen, we had in season 1 we had David Bruckner and Roxanne Benjamin, and season 2 Joe Lynch came and he directed. He directed for me, and Axel Caroline, she came in and directed, and
these are great directors, man.
It's been really fun, but I feel like 10 years in the trenches on Walking Dead really have taught me. Scott Gimple used to say, man, when I go and I work on your episodes, it's like going into a comic book shop and I go through the bin and then I see a comic book and I'm like, this is great, I want this one. And then he finds more and he finds more. And he used to talk about that when he would go through the dailies of the stuff that I had shot, because he would find things. Television's a tricky medium because, you have the producers and the writers and then the directors. The directors really come in, they're kind of directors for hire. They come in for a couple days, they prep, they shoot, and they leave.
In and out, it's quick.
It's so different than movies. But, the thing that I try to stress with my directors is, to just like have fun with it and lean into those 100%. Moments that you fell in love with the first time that you saw Dawn of the Dead or Friday the 13th or American Werewolf in London, those bits and pieces. And I think, Creepshow really has a lot of those sort of homages in there.
Yes.
That remind us, I'm always hesitant to sort of embrace the words old school, because I feel like there's so much heart and tradition in a lot of the films that we grew up with. So I would never want to refer to things as old school, because I feel like that's DNA. The DNA in all good horror is rooted in what we believe is scary, and that really doesn't change. What changes is how we present it. I mean, you could be like Robert Rodriguez and shoot a whole thing on green screen, and it would still be horror. The DNA has to be there, and I feel like with Creepshow, we have been really fortunate to develop stories that have the DNA that makes good horror. And I always talk about the fact that there has to be heart and there has to be emotion in it. Otherwise, if you don't care about the characters when they die, then it doesn't matter. You got to have heart and soul in it, and that's what makes it entertaining.
For sure. No, the roots come from somewhere. 100%. I think it's exactly where the evolution of horror has changed so much. I mean, I think it's going to keep changing in so many different subgenres, but it all started somewhere. So, I mean, was there an anecdote or a moment when you first saw like that movie or that scene or that moment, you're like, okay, this is for me. Like this is what I'm gonna do. Was there like a moment there?
That's a great question, because I started off movies. For me, I was a fan, like I had watched all the Universal monster movies, and I was just
like, since a young age you were about like
I was about the Wolfman, the Creature from Black Lagoon, and then in the late 60s and the early 70s, when the Hammer movies, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and they were all of a sudden, all those movies were in color. So the blood was that red, orange,
that
orange paint color that
like
sort of
this,
is
my purse,
synonymous.
just like my purse.
Exactly. If you melted your purse, we could use it for blood colors.
Exactly.
But I felt like that's when really something changed for me, was seeing stuff in color and monsters in color. And then, of course,
what a cool moment. Wow.
Dawn of the Dead. I remember going to the theater to see Dawn of the Dead, downtown Pittsburgh at the Gateway Theater. It was like opening weekend, and I had just gotten over like a cold or the flu, so I wasn't really feeling well, but I didn't care. I was nauseous. I was nauseous going in, maybe even with the anticipation, maybe in my
perfect movie. Perfect.
Yeah, maybe I was ready to throw up before I even went into the movie theater, because the poster said no one under 17 will be admitted. There's the poster's sitting right over there, by the way. So I remember that first zombie bite in the shoulder, and I was just not ready for it. I was not ready for it. And then you cut away and you cut back, and he bites the arm. And that was probably about 12 minutes into Dawn of the Dead. And I was changed forever. First of all, I didn't trust George for the rest of the movie, because
of course,
10 minutes, if that's what you see, then you're all the whole movie, you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? And between, just that idea that filmmakers like George and John Carpenter and Steven Spielberg, they could elicit a response. If you're watching The Thing and you don't know who's next, and you're just tense, and you see those great diopter shots of the character holding the scalpel in focus in the foreground and the characters in the background, and you realize that the art of filmmaking and storytelling allows you, even music or lighting will affect how you react and how you think. So those moments, like I think seeing the shark in Jaws eating Teddy Grossman in the estuary for the first time, and me just thinking, oh my God. Then I was like, I want to make one of those sharks. And then Dawn of the Dead, and I went, wait a second, like that's makeup, and they put the makeup on, and that I really sort of somehow found my way into wanting to do the practical makeup effects.
Wow.
It wasn't even so much directing or writing or anything. It was just like, oh, I want to do the gory stuff,
I love that. So there was always a dark, gross side to you. See, it was meant to be that you didn't feel so good that day.
Well, look, if my memory serves, I was getting over a cold, but I probably had built up this anxiety of going to see this movie that people had been talking about, that probably was, and I have, by the way, and I wasn't 18, I was 16. So I had I had a driver's license that I had to actually use an X-Acto knife and change the date so that I could use my fake ID to get into the theater.
Oh man, you were sneaky.
Oh yeah, I was.
I see you. I see you.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a license at 14 years old too, but that's Mexico. It's easy. We didn't have to cut it up.
Oh yeah, I had an X-Acto knife and a pencil, and I changed the date from 1963 to something else. I don't even remember the date, but and of course it was funny because it wasn't like I was buying beer. I was sneaking into a horror movie. So
that's great. I wish I could witness, screenings like that from when these horror movies like back then would just have such an impact on audiences and would just bring that originality we haven't seen before. I find like in my generation right now, a lot of it is, like you say, it's a DNA from something. It's rooted from something, which is super cool because we are inspired from, past horror. I think it's pretty much where it all comes from. But I wish I could witness those moments. Like my mom, still to this day, she talks about at 15 how she was dragged to see The Exorcist, and how people passed out in the theater, how people ran out of the theater, and she has trouble describing it. Like still today, she's so scared of it. And because of that moment, like I grew up not being allowed to watch any of that stuff. Also very religious family. So so she's convinced it was real. And but it's just those moments that they can carry with you for all these years, and you can remember these details. That to me, I mean, I think that's what the genre really stands out. You know, makes it so special.
Well, it does. And, you know, the interesting thing about it is the genre stands out because if you think about the filmmakers at that time, you think about Tobe Hooper and Wes Craven and George Romero and those people who, they were rebellious, you know. I mean, that was a time when people said, oh, you can't show that in a movie.
They would.
Not only would they, but they would find ways to do it that was almost worse than actually seeing it. You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the perfect example. Yes. You never see a person, you never see a chainsaw go into anybody, but it doesn't matter because your mind tells you that you did. It was so well crafted. And because the horror genre is rebellious by nature, because you're asking yourself and you're telling your audience, we're going to show you something that you don't want to see. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be unsettling, and it's going to disturb you. You know, they used to sell movies. Don't, you know, this movie will screw you up for life. You know, like you have to repeat. There was one ad campaign. It might have been like Last House on the Left, or where it would say that the campaign would say, you have to repeat to yourself, this is only a movie. It's only a movie. And it would echo in the trailer. It would say that it's only a movie. It's only a movie. And that rebellious spirit of these filmmakers that were being told, you can't do that. You know, the ratings board was censoring everything. And I really believe that that's so much of not only what took us into the early 70s, but by the mid 70s when Jack Valenti and the MPAA was censoring movies, then it was like, oh, well, screw that. Everybody started making movies and they're like, wait a second, we can release this movie unrated and make more money because there is this stigma that it's somehow to certain people offensive. Oh, well, if I'm offended, you know, oh, you could never show that. Like Dawn of the Dead never made it to the UK because it was censored so much that they cut all the footage out. So that I really feel too, that rebellious nature is what you know, I would say that's sort of like did what video games have done for horror now. That cultivated this whole subgenre of people that were like, well, you can't tell me what to do, so I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get it out there for people to see. And then all of a sudden you have this entire new generation of people who want it. And it's like what video games did for the zombie genre. You know, before Resident Evil, the zombie genre was had gone through its paces, so to speak, until Resident Evil and House of the Dead came out. And then when you take the zombie genre and you turn it into a first-person shooter game, where young adults who were probably not interested in watching Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead, now all of a sudden they're responsible for shooting zombies. And then this entire wave of the zombie genre, you know, 28 Days Later, you know, the Resident Evil movies, and then you start getting into situations like you have with Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright and Nick Frost and Shaun of the Dead, which was their love letter to the Romero movies. And then it's like, boom, you know.
It goes in full circle every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Absolutely.
So, oh, that is fun. That is fun. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see this new season, man. I love the hype about it. I can't wait. So you got to share this with me. Like, where did CREEPSHOW even, how'd you guys even just come up with this idea? Like, where would the conversation happen? Or did you just wake up and say
Well,
this is the
no,
show.
it's
I gotta
again, it's one of those full circle
Yeah.
scenarios. Ironically, I became friends with George Romero in the late 70s when I was
Okay.
I was 15 years old, and we met. He had directed The Crazies. He was about to shoot Dawn of the Dead, and my uncle was an actor in Pittsburgh, so my uncle knew him. So that's how I met George. And George would say, "Oh, you got to come down and visit the offices downtown Pittsburgh." And he was just sort of inviting me as this kid who was a fan to come down and, check it out. So Creepshow, the first Creepshow movie got a green light. They were shooting in 1980.
That's
And
right.
he said, "You got to come visit. You got to come hang out on set." And he kind of said, "Hey, if you want a job as a production assistant, come work on the movie."
Amazing.
And I said no.
What? Oh, well, you gave me the best twist. I was like, and
I was about to go away to college and study medicine and be a doctor, and I kind of went, I would love to, but I can't. And I visited set a lot. That's where I met Tom Savini for the first time. So when he was building Fluffy in his workshop, which was right next to the gymnasium that they had turned into sound stages, I would go visit on Saturdays. And lo and behold, we became friends, and Tom and I became good friends. So cut to 4 years later, it's 1984, and George says, "Hey, we got a green light to do Day of the Dead. Do you want a job?" And I'm like, all right, I've made this mistake once. I can't not take this offer. And my plan was, I'm going to do 6 months on this movie, and then I'll go back to school and I'll finish up and be a doctor. And I never went back. That was that was really, it was a complete sort of, being at the right place at the right time. And so when George offered me the job, I immediately called Tom and said, "Hey, I got hired on Day of the Dead. I want to be your assistant. What do you think?" So I created a job for me. I created this job where I managed the makeup effects department for Tom, and would break down the scripts and order supplies and, gather resumes and hey, well, maybe we should hire this guy, or we should hire this guy or that guy. And then when we were on set, I was kind of running around and helping. So that was my first job, was being an apprentice on Day of the Dead. And ironically, when that movie was over, and I was used to joke with my parents, "Hey, someday I'm gonna be in the movie business," and here I am. So Creepshow was a very fortuitous situation. I was doing press for Walking Dead. I was in Australia, and I was flying back to LA, and I needed something to read. So I go on iTunes or iBooks, and I see this book called Nights of the Living Dead. And I'm like, what is that? So I click on it, and it's a series of short stories written by authors that all take place the same night as Night of the Living Dead. Mm-hmm. So Joe Lansdale had written a story, George had written a story, and there was one story called A Dead Girl Named Sue. And it was a really, really unique story about this sheriff who arrests this guy for murdering someone. And the guy's trying to convince the sheriff that she was already dead. You don't understand. Dead people are coming back to life. And I loved the story. So I thought, I want to direct this as a little short. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I just love the story.
Let's make it. Yeah.
I just wanted to make it. Yeah, So we reached out to the writer, and it turns out the writer works at Shudder and is an executive at AMC named Craig Engler. And
right time, right place, baby. Every time.
Well, get this. Then his partner is Stan Spry, and Stan called me and said, "Hey, so we're looking for a creative partner on Creepshow." And I went, "Wait, my Creepshow?" Of course, I thought it was my Creepshow because I had visited the set when I was a kid, so Creepshow was personal to me. So I went to AMC and I had pitched Creepshow. And it was funny because they kind of went, we're not really sure. We love it for Shudder. We're not sure we love it for the network. We're not quite sure how we want to do it yet. And I had to kind of battle to get it made, because I said, guys, you don't understand, we're sitting on a gold mine here. And this was before anybody was doing anthology stuff. This was 4 years ago. It was so we were one of the first people to get a green light on an anthology show. And then a lot of other shows started following suit, and now there's lots of anthologies floating around, but I like to feel that we were one of the first ones. And, you know, Stephen King gave us a story like within 24 hours. He's like, you got it. I want, you know, he was really excited about the fact that we were, you know, bringing CREEPSHOW back and wanted to be a part of it. I kind of said, look, it can't be CREEPSHOW without Stephen King.
Yeah.
But it was, again, like one of those weird stories that I would have never imagined in a million years. But I also feel like now I have this great responsibility and honor to sort of carry on the Romero legacy and to carry on the legacy of CREEPSHOW. And now, weirdly, somebody had said, you know, you've created more CREEPSHOW episodes than the original creators of CREEPSHOW have, because we've done 3 seasons. So 3 seasons is, you know, 24 stories. And it kind of sort of put things into perspective for me. I was like, wow, we're going to keep doing it, and we're going to keep telling the stories, and stories that are personal to us and mean a lot to us, and are, you know, socially relevant, because again, a lot of people don't realize that good horror is socially relevant. It has to have people, you know, sit up and go, wow, it shines a light on society, and it allows people to deal with things that are happening in their daily lives in this safe and sometimes not so safe environment. And that's what horror does.
Well, yeah, I mean, horror is really an escape, I think, for us, to escape actual horrors of the world, but find some sort of entertainment factor or something that lets us escape the reality. I mean, that's why I love it personally, because it just lets me immerse myself in a different world. But if the characters are rich and relatable, what's the difference between the characters and me? You know, there's no borders, no walls. Yeah. I love that. Great. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to call you Dr. Nicotero from now on. That's your new nickname. There's a really cool question here from Noah Levine. Noah says, I'm a college film student who loves horror, and I'm currently prepping a short film to shoot in the beginning of April that involves a zombified character. What is your best advice for creating the most authentic and frightening zombie? That's a tough one.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. We had to bring it up.
Well, look, there's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of little pieces to that, but you know, it's not all about a great makeup either. You know, I mean, you look at the original Night of the Living Dead, they didn't have any money to do makeup. It's really about performance. You know, I mean, if you think about how your zombie is going to react, you know, you got to decide fast zombie, slow zombie, because that's, you know, there's a debate raging, which I of course contribute to on a daily basis. But, you know, it's really, I think one of the most fascinating things about zombies is the intellectual aspect of the fact that somebody that you love, someone that you're close to, would want to devour you alive. And, you know, the most powerful moments, if you look at any of the Romero zombie movies, Night of the Living Dead, when Johnny reaches in and grabs Barbara and pulls her into that sea of zombies, and she's looking into his eyes, Johnny, no. That's the most terrifying moment for me. I mean, the eating the guts is, of course, kind of gross and disturbing, but it's the idea that she gets pulled away and he turns around and you see her struggling and she just disappears in this sea of bodies. And you know what's happening to her. And it's the most, to me, that moment gave me nightmares forever, because you set up what these zombies are capable of doing, but you don't have to always see it. You just need to know that she's being torn apart inside that and into pieces. And ugh. So I really feel like if you're setting up this great movie this zombie film that you're going to do, and how you want to show what the zombies are capable of doing with storytelling.
That's great.
It can be a splash of blood on the wall. It could be somebody being dragged into a doorway and screaming, and then the screaming stops and you hear the sounds of tearing flesh, and you tell the audience that these things are absolutely deadly, and you go from there. And then at that point, once the audience knows how deadly they are, the closer they get, then the more fear the audience will generate.
That's true. I mean, it's pretty much like every great horror movie. If you open up with the big danger, the big possibilities of what we should be afraid of,
yeah,
then really your zombie can be anything. I love that. It's setting it up.
Yeah,
Really,
and you got to remind yourself, look, the big trick on Walking Dead is after 10 years, our characters must be pretty good at killing zombies. Otherwise, they wouldn't be around.
They have to be.
But the challenge is the zombies still have to be scary and threatening, because if they're not, then the show loses some of that oomph. And I feel like I'm like the zombie police. I'll always be like, you can't kill the zombies too easily, because if you kill them too easily, then they're not going to be as scary, and people can just walk right past them. And you got to remind the audience frequently that the zombies are scary.
That's awesome. Well, Noah says thank you very much. They're very thankful for it.
Cool.
Well, here's another great question, because I'm curious about this too. Israel asks, since season 2 and 3 of CREEPSHOW have already been shot, will they be released close to each other, or will we have to wait another year?
Well, you won't have to wait another year. That's the good news. I mean, season 2 airs April 1st, and that's 5 episodes. So it's actually 9 stories, because there's one episode that I directed that Dana Gould wrote called Night of the Living Late Show, which is going to be a full hour episode, and it stars Darcy Carden and Justin Long. And the plot is Justin invents this device, like a VR experience, that allows you to go into a movie and be a character in the movie. Like, you can be yourself. So I love the idea that you could go into The Godfather, or you could go into Jaws, and you can be standing there like, Hooper, the shark's over there. Like, you would be in the movie. So I loved the script so much, and had such a great time with Justin and Darcy, that the director's cut came in at 28 minutes. And we usually shoot for about 37 minutes or 36 minutes. So I went back in and put more footage into the cut, because it was such a fun story, and it was so different and so unique. And so season 2 has 9. There's 4 episodes with 2 stories, and 1 episode that is the finale, which is that particular story. And then season 3 will air sometime in the fall. So my guess will be Halloween will have some
You're
show.
spoiling us. I love this.
Well, look,
I love this.
people want to get out there, and they want to see more stuff, and it makes me, I was really excited that we got to do the animated episode, and Kiefer came in and did it, and Jamie did it.
You gotta do more of those.
Well, I think we got some ideas floating around for that. But the interesting thing was, when we shot Shifters Anonymous, that was the first episode that we shot for season 2. And we shot in September, and then we edited it in October, and we started doing the visual effects in November. And I kind of called the network and said, guys, we're missing a great opportunity here. This should be a Christmas special. We should get it out. And of course, I thought it was funny that everybody said, oh, they planned this. They were really smart about planning it as a holiday special. And I said, we didn't plan it to be a holiday special. Originally, before the pandemic, it would have aired in October of 2020. So the fact that we had to push it, we kind of hit the gas to get it ready for for right before Christmas, and I had a great time. That kind of made me want to direct a comedy, because
Really?
I loved
That's awesome.
improvising with the actors. Adam was super talented. Anna was really, really funny, and they would come up with some really great stuff on set. And I feel like Shapeshifters, really having directed that at the beginning of this run, really gave me the freedom to lean into some more outrageous stuff and to go with stuff. Like if I was on set giggling, because Walking Dead, there's not a lot of comedy in Walking Dead. Walking Dead's really intense. People are dying, people are getting hit with baseball bats and then getting nominated for Oscars. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens on The Walking Dead. So we don't really get a chance to do a lot of comedy. So with Shapeshifters, I really sort of found a whole different voice. And I feel like having done that episode first, it really did lead me into an entirely different perception of Creepshow for the rest of the year. And I was grateful. I was grateful to the actors, because I would giggle on set, and when there's still ad lib lines that I would just let them have fun. And there's still lines in there that ended up in the episode that weren't in the script that I laugh out loud every time I hear them. And so there was definitely a sense of freedom that I gained doing that episode. And the fact that we shot it first gave me a lot of confidence going into the other episodes that I had shot, to really sort of allow the material to breathe a little bit. And that was a huge learning experience for me, because it's not as rigid or regimented as other shows that I've worked on. And I felt like, man, I want the actors to feel like they can be collaborative and explore the material.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a ton of time to do it, so we just kind of went for it. And it was really liberating for me.
That's great. Well, I mean, I think it's so important what I've learned as a director in my career that's still early in its game, but I think it's so important to, as the leader of the show, as the person that people are looking up to, it's important that you yourself understand the tone and the mood of this project you're getting yourself into. And if from the beginning the tone is set and that trust is established, only magic is going to happen. And that's really cool that that happens for you too. And to me, that's inspiring. And you're a great creator, my friend. So of course these actors are going to give you their best.
Yeah, but it's funny. I always think I'm still that 15-year-old kid sitting in the movie.
We're fans. We're forever fans, right?
And when people, I meet a lot of people who will come up and they'll just say, like, just thanks for doing what you do. And it's interesting because, look, I've met a lot of really, really inspirational people in my career, and you never know what to say to them. You always get a little tongue-tied. And I remember, I just meeting Clint Eastwood, and I was kind of like, I just wanted to say, thank you for doing what you do, and then turn and run away before I said something stupid, because you don't know what to do. You're in that moment of like, holy crap, that's Sean Connery, or that's, and I remember meeting those people. I think the person I met, the person ironically that I was tongue-tied the most that I ever met was Clive Barker.
Really?
Clive Barker, I had read all the books of Blood, and I'm like, this guy's mind is just like, I don't even know how the crazy crap that comes out of his head. And I met him, and I was like,
yeah. Oh, I've been there. I've been there.
And ironically, so when people see me and they want to say something, I always remember that moment of,
that's beautiful,
of how I just wanted to tell them that I loved what they did, and I was grateful for whatever they contributed to, like whatever movie or book or TV show it was. I just wanted to say thanks. And a lot of times people don't know how to do that. They get excited or you know, if you're Norman Reedus, they'll bite you in the chest or some weird things that
Oh yeah.
but honestly, they just want to say thanks, and they just want to be grateful. And so the fact that I get to do it, I get to provide this for people that really love it and just want to be entertained and have a good time. I mean, that's the greatest gift for me, is to be able to entertain people, and I can't wait.
Well, we are all definitely saying gracias to you. Thank you for everything you're doing. Well, we have time for one more question, but before you answer it, it's your birthday and you didn't tell me. So huge happy birthday, my friend.
No, it's funny. I posted a picture on Instagram. My mom made a cake for me when I was 8 years old. And it's a vampire and I remember putting a little wooden stake in the heart of the cake. And I saw my parents over the weekend, and my mom printed the photo. So I put a candle in front of it last night and took a picture of it and sent it.
I will check it out.
You have to check it out, because it's 8-year-old me with a Dracula cake.
I love that. Oh my God, I love that. Well,
but it wasn't red velvet, because I don't think they made red velvet cakes
no. So here's the very last question. So Chaz says happy birthday, and also they're asking, is there a possibility that the lost Creepshow story Pinfall might make an appearance in season 3?
Oh, you know, I would love to revisit any of the original Creepshow stories, because there's a pedigree there, you know.
There is.
Interestingly enough, we had Matt Vane and I had developed a sequel to The Crate that we wrote. We wrote the script, and it was an awesome story. I mean, I joked around in season 1 that I was like, oh, I want to do a Crate sequel. And, you know, unfortunately, the rights are just a little convoluted, because, you know, Warner Brothers released the movie, and another company produced the movie, and some of them were Stevens. And so it's really challenging to sort of deconstruct the rights. And we didn't note that at the time. So Matt and I had developed this great story, and it was basically we were gonna use Hal Holbrook in an old folks home and have him recanting his story. And sadly, he passed away not long ago. But when we had developed the script, it was a year ago, and we were gonna, you know, we were in talks with him to potentially reprise that role, and I was so excited about it. And we had even started designing Fluffy and all this stuff, and then word came down that you know, stories that were from the original movie or Creepshow 2 are they're just a little difficult to untangle. I mean, I'm sure we probably could, but it takes a lot of work with a lot of research, and a lot of people are like, well, we don't know what happened to the rights of that, because this was a long time ago.
Correct.
So I love the idea of doing Pinfall, and I have the original script from Creepshow 2. So
really,
you know, I have the original scripts, but it's just a little tricky. But look, the good news is there's a lot of super talented men and women out there who have great stories, and I don't think we'll be shy for material for a long time. So
that's what we need, is new content, really.
Yeah.
So you guys are bringing that. Oh, awesome, Greg! It's been so wonderful. I'm so excited, and you know, you know, to end this off, I just want to say thank you, because I remember that moment when I first met you. I was with my friend, and I saw you, and I was like, oh my God, it's Greg. He doesn't know me. Should I go say hi to him? And I was so shy, but then I was like, screw it, I'm gonna say hi. And you were so kind. And I had Eli texting me, go say hi now. And I was like, okay. So I went, and you were so nice, and thank you.
Well,
look, it's made a beautiful friendship.
I was equally excited. And by the way, Eli was texting me at the same time. There's this girl you have to meet.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah. So it was like, from across, it was like, West Side Story, from across the room. We were destined,
Literally.
destined to meet. Well, look, I mean, all of this aside, I mean, look at what you're doing. I'm super proud of you. I see announcements for the cast for your movie coming up, and it's funny. I tried to grab you, but you got picked up so fast, which is just a tribute to your talent and your vision. And I love when you send me your movies and you're like, okay, nobody's seen this yet, but here's the link and here's the password. And
you inspire me, my friend.
That's the fun thing. The fun part really is, that we get to watch each other grow as filmmakers and sort of inspire each other, because that really, I always love looking at that group of filmmakers in the 80s, and it was, John Carpenter and John Landis and Wes Craven and Toby and George, and they couldn't help but be competitive with each other. But you got to believe that they probably hated each other and loved each other at the exact same minute, because they're keeping the spirit of the genre that they love. They're keeping it alive, and when Walking Dead first started and Frank Darabont, it was all about, he wanted to pay tribute to the original Night of the Living Dead, and the sort of the holy grail that we would call it. And there's not a day goes by that you don't look at a Creepshow episode, or you look at a movie, or you watch Hereditary, or you watch something, and you see the spirit of all of the past filmmakers that have contributed to the genre. Because it's like our job to keep it alive. And 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, filmmakers will be watching your movies, and they'll be watching our movies, and they'll, in some instances be like, oh my God, this was amazing. And, we'll inspire them to make films. And that to me is the greatest compliment, is when people come up and say, I want to do what you do. And
agreed. No, if you can leave a track behind, and you've done something right. Well, thank you for sharing all this, Dr. Nicotero.
Well, thanks for taking time out of your day, out of your busy day, to have this. I like to call it a fireside chat. I was like, oh crap, do I have to light something on?
I know, I was thinking the same. I was like, where's the candles? But thank you so much. Well, this was a perfect and inspiring note to end on. And before we go, I think there's something special that the audience here is going to watch. So if you could please give us a little intro to what they're about to watch.
Well, there's an episode of Creepshow called Model Kid, which is slightly autobiographical, about a young boy in the 70s who is obsessed with monsters, and he's obsessed with model kits, and he uses his imagination to bring his friends, the monsters, to life. So John Esposito wrote a beautiful script, and I just couldn't not direct it. I couldn't not tell the story, because it was his story growing up, my story growing up. You got to remember, there was a time when being a nerd and loving weird stuff was not popular, and people didn't embrace it. People didn't, for sure. People didn't embrace it. People thought you were weird. People thought you were different. It was hard to make friends or talk to people about the things that you loved. So Model Kid embraces a lot of that with that time period. And Kevin Dillon stars in it, who did a great job. And a lot of our actors, we had a really, really talented young actor who plays Joe, named Brock, who did an amazing job. And I want to share it with you.
Gracias.
Please enjoy. There's a lot of my heart in this episode, and hopefully you'll cheer and cry and scream all at the same time. Yay!
I'm sure we will, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.